which is quite hilarious, and I think both of our standpoints. South African lion kills poacher during illegal trophy hunt in Poetic Justice for Cecil.
Yes.
Poetic Justice for Cecil. Now, a man and a group of 4 men were illegally hunting lions in South Africa, when apparently one man, Matoma Mahala, 24, was killed along with his 2 dogs while his 3 companions watched in horror from a nearby tree. So apparently this man was hunting a lion, got a bit too close, a bit too ballsy to the lion, and the lion turned around and mauled him. And when I mean mauled him, I mean apparently mauled him, killed him, and his 2 dogs. I feel bad about the dogs. I honestly feel worse that the dogs were dragged into this than I do the man who was killed. And not because I love animals more than men, but because those dogs did not choose to go hunt lions that day. They were forced to go hunt lions that day. The human chose to go hunt an endangered species with only a couple thousand left in the species. And he got mauled. I don't feel bad for you. I think it's quite hilarious.
And I keep laughing, and part of me wants to feel bad, but I think this is, I think my views go right along with probably what Peter would say here, and that this is justice. I don't even know how to put it. It's just, I think it's an amazing story. I think it's one that needs a little bit more attention. This guy clearly, I don't know what was going through his head, why he thought this would be a good trophy. Why would you want a trophy of something that's, dwindling in numbers?
I saw a trophy of a giraffe, and I didn't get the sport in killing a herbivore. A giraffe. So people who do this, they just do it because they want to kill something. It's just I've stopped trying to justify it. It's like they just want a trophy because they feel like it's cool.
And I think it's hard for me to get past the initial. I think this is an amazing story because it's just. I'm so glad in this instance that the lion prevailed because there's so few of them left. We talked about it in a previous video, and there'll be a link in the description for you to go check that out. And it's just anyone who would think it's okay to hunt and kill for sport or as a trophy an endangered species is someone who has a small penis and no balls.
Serious issues. Now, okay, everyone's like, people, he's a human, he's dead, you should feel sad. Of course, when anyone dies, there's an inherent sorrow. Do you ever want another human being to pass away? Do you want another creature to pass away for no reason? No. We're not saying, he should have died just because we don't care about him. No, that's not what we're saying. What we're saying is that in a hunt that is not fair, you got a rifle from 1,000 yards away against a lion who is minding its own business. It's not a fair fight.
It's not
so,
a fair fight.
Do I feel bad if the person who's the odds or against the underdog wins? No, that's the sweetest story. That's what the best stories that typically come from are underdog stories. So, do I feel bad that this guy died? Yes, of course. You never want anybody to die. Do I think the lion should be found and killed and the lion's up? No. The dude shouldn't have been there in the first place. His 3 friends are lucky they ass didn't get mauled afterwards. Yeah. So, do I feel like anything was done wrong? Was this man unjustly killed? No. He wrote a check that his ass obviously could not cash. And that's what happened.
Yeah, obviously he wasn't good enough with the gun if the lion was able to get close enough. And
honestly, dude, how far are you away from the lion when you start shooting for you to continue to miss?
Yeah.
Until it mauls you, and then you got 3 friends in a tree that still miss. What, did they just let you die?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think another thing is, going back to the, we do feel for the guy, but we also feel for this lion. Every creature on this planet has its purpose. And if we keep taking out all these species and making their numbers dwindle, I mean, tigers, for instance, there's like 3,000 of them left in the wild. If we keep doing this, we are going to completely tear down our ecosystem and this planet even more than it already is.
And I don't get how people do not realize there's a hierarchy to the food chain.
Absolutely.
There is a delicate balance when it comes to our food chain. Now, we're offsetting that balance. You know, we're killing wildebeests and warthogs and zebras and stuff for food and sport and clothing things. So, yeah, some of the things that the lions would kill, we're taking over that. But what happens when you take away an apex predator from an ecosystem? It falls apart. It's a fact. It's a scientific fact. If there were no more sharks in the sea, which those numbers are also dwindling way lower than they should, if there were no more sharks in the sea, there would be such an imbalance that it would be absolutely ridiculous. Our seas would implode. The same thing happens on land. The lions are the apex predator of the region. No other creature in the region eats them. And their habitat, no other creature eats them. So they're the apex predator. So what happens if you get rid of all the apex predators? Well, you now have larger than normal herds of wildebeest and zebras that will now eat more food than they should rightfully eat in the area, trample more ground than they should rightfully trample, stop an abundance from vegetation from growing. Absolutely. So what does that cause? A catastrophic effect that now has thousands upon millions of wildebeest and various other herbivores dying by the drove, trying to get it back in balance. All of this is just gonna continue to get worse and worse when we continue to kill these type of wonderful creatures and not take into account the delicate balance that is this country, or that is this world that we live.
Absolutely, and I think there's another nugget to what you were saying, in that, you know, we do kill wildebeest, antelopes, we do kill those, but we don't kill enough to justify at least one killing of a lion. They eat a few a day, probably. I don't know how many they eat, but for us, you know, we want that vicious, you know, we want to go after something vicious who's going to come after us, who's going to try and kill us. That's what we're looking for.
That's part of the whole cool factor.
Yeah, an antelope or a wildebeest isn't going to come after us and try to kill us. You know, it's going to try to run away and get away from us. So for us, if we... It makes no sense to keep going after this. We've put that population into such dire states that now wildebeest and antelopes are going to start overpopulating because there's not enough lions to, you know, keep their population in balance because their population is so out of whack now.
And another thing about that is that lions and other apex predators typically take out the weakest in the bunch. So what does that do? Eliminate weak DNA strands from that population, from that herd. It may seem like, oh, they're just picking on the weakest because they want to. No, it is the smartest thing for them to do. When you take away the weakest, you then make sure that the strongest in the herd are going to continue to live. Absolutely. Which then makes sure the strongest in the herd continue to make more children, which then means that you are now guaranteeing your food source in the future. So it's like, we're not killing the antelopes and the wildebeest and the zebras we should. We kill the nice healthy ones because we want the nice looking coats and pelts and things.
Exactly, and it's the same thing with the lion.
Yeah.
If we actually, and maybe this would start to change the argument a little bit, but if we started to watch what we were going to kill before we started doing that, before we killed it, then we'd see, okay, this lion's actually weaker, so if I killed this lion, then it would actually boost their, you know, the other lions.
Yeah, the strongest lion in the herd would now be able to copulate with more women, making that stronger DNA.
Exactly.
Thus
but we go for the ones that are typically the strongest that have the full mane, who are they have the biggest prides, and they rule their pride from year after year from every kind of challenger that comes to the forefront. And when we do that, we throw that pride out of balance. So now someone who could be a weak lion comes in and now essentially destroys that pride, treats the cubs like shit because they aren't his cubs. Yeah. You know, so that pushes them out. Those cubs are now out in the wild on their own, and maybe their mother goes with them. It depends on the relationship between the male lion and the female one. But if she doesn't go with the cubs as well, then those cubs run so many high risks of getting killed. They could get trampled from elephants. They could get
just die from malnourishment.
They could die from malnourishment. They could die from, even hippos are a threat they cannot stand lions. You also have, I always get alligators and crocodiles mixed up. So what are those?
Whatever those are right there.
What is in Africa, those are a threat to the cubs. So there's so many dangers from taking out the strongest, and it's ridiculous, but that's what we go for, and that's why that's one of the reasons why this is not okay, and that's one of the reasons why this story is a good story.
And I don't think people really realize that there is a very complex social structure inside of a lion pride. These aren't animals, people. These aren't mindless beasts. These animals have created a society and their own cultures that have lasted for as long as we've been around and longer. Yeah. So we stop looking at them as mindless beasts that fur is the only thing that matters. Oh, it's no big deal. They'll just keep making babies. No. When you kill the strongest lion in a pride, that can cause so much infighting between the other young lions in that pride that you could completely destroy and catastrophically change the region. You could have lion prides fighting for the next 4 to 5 generations because one pride land that was now controlled by one person has now been separated into multiple factions. It does get that serious, people. There is that much complexity in their lives. Don't think that there's not.
And I think that's a big point. We have to stop considering these animals. They aren't animals. They aren't creatures. They aren't monsters. They're beings just like us. They have complex thoughts just like we do. They have highly in tune emotions like we do. And even some, what we consider animals, have even higher emotions than we do.
Dolphins and whales and things.
Yeah, dolphins and whales like that.
It's quite remarkable.
Yeah, but all of them, it's across the board. They're just like us. If they lose their own, they hurt.
Even elephants. Elephants mourn sites of their former elephants that have died. It's kind of like a grave site. When they're going through their typical path, if an elephant had fallen the previous year and died, they will literally pick up the bones of that elephant and rub them on themselves as a sense of mourning and trying to reconnect with that dead elephant. That is how intelligent these animals are.
Yeah, I think in all, we need to get back to being in tune with nature, because we have lost that. And that is what's killing us. It's killing these animals, and it's killing our planet.
And just in closing, this is what residents in the area think. Residents in the area sided with the lion. In quotations is what someone actually said. There won't be many people feeling sorry for him. This is seen as poetic justice for the death of Cecil, said one local man. Indeed, you couldn't have asked for a more fitting end for such a despicable man. While Cecil's killer still roams free, while with hope this innocent will make other trophy hunters pause before embarking on a mission of slaughter.